going to do an intro first.
Blog Talk Radio.
Welcome to the Nonprofit Coach with Ted Hart, the most listened to radio show in the nonprofit sector, dedicated to helping your charity succeed. It's no secret that combining online and offline techniques is the key to fundraising success, and practical nonprofit management advice is what you need. The Nonprofit Coach with Ted Hart is the perfect landing point to learn from experts around the world who provide advice you can use. Ted Hart is without a doubt one of the foremost nonprofit thought leaders. Also a successful author, his books range from successful online fundraising to expert nonprofit management. Guests on the Nonprofit Coach are leaders in their field who share their insider tips and trade secrets in a conversational style both the experienced and novice will benefit from. Ted lectures around the world, but now he's here for you. From the latest in charity news, technology, fundraising, and social networking, Ted and his guests help you and your organization move to greater levels of efficiency and fundraising success. This is a live call-in show. Add your voice by calling 347-324-3080. After the show, you can find all our podcasts at tedhart.com. Click on Radio. Don't forget to dial 347-324-3080. Now, welcome the host of the Nonprofit Coach, Ted Hart.
And welcome here to this latest edition of the Nonprofit Coach. Thank you for joining us. We are live here at BBCON 2016 at National Harbor in Maryland. And as I've said many times on this show, BBCON is one of the best organized conferences you can possibly go to. And we always make sure that here at BBCON, we grab some of the top experts to get a chance to hear what is really new and what is really happening. And today we've got Ashley Thompson with us. She is the managing director of the Blackbaud Institute for Philanthropic Impact, and she's here to tell us all about it. Welcome here to the Nonprofit Coach, Ashley.
Hi, Ted. Thanks for having me. We are thrilled to be able to talk about this initiative. We actually just launched this initiative 2 days ago on our first day of conference here. And essentially,
so this really is news.
This is breaking news. Yeah,
great.
We broke it 2 days ago, and what it is, essentially, you can think about it is Blackbaud furthering their commitment into how they give back to build an ecosystem of good. We do a lot of talking about the fact that as a company and what we provide their technology powers that ecosystem. And so the Institute is really the component of that ecosystem that gives back specifically through research and data insights for the purpose of being able to drive better effectiveness by the sector.
Well, and that helps all of us. And one of the things that I've really appreciated about Blackbaud over the last several years is this turning to data and not just putting data out, but helping to analyze and helping charities, both large and small, be able to start using that data to be smarter, to be able to be a little bit more cutting edge, and to understand where they fit in the overall ecosystem of good, as you call it, but the charitable sector.
Mm-hmm.
So tell us, now it's just launched, what happens now?
Yeah, that's right. And you bring up a good point, is that, Blackbaud has a rich history of bringing valuable insights. We've got some really notable reports, like the Charitable Giving Report that we produce every year that's based off our Blackbaud Index. So this is actually us taking that a step further and going deeper in that space. So we realize that we actually have, beyond the index and what you see, we actually have a really great wealth of data, actually the largest set of philanthropic giving that exists out there. And so this is us taking it one step further and looking at where we can actually go in and select actually very specific best practices and provide real tangible answers. For us, beyond overall giving trends, there are a lot of questions that still exist about certain practices. There's a lot of misconceptions. And certainly in our sector today, there's a lot of anecdotal evidence, if you will, about what works and what doesn't. And so we recognize that we have an ability to actually go in and probably actually find the real data-backed answers around some of these questions.
Well, and some of those sort of, wives' tales or sort of tried and trues have changed. The marketplace has changed, and what donors expect, what communities expect have changed. So it's not to say that what was true in the past wasn't actually true in the past, but how relevant is it now? And how has the market changed? And I think it's very exciting that Blackbaud is going to take this on, because I think there's lots of room in the marketplace for us to be able to learn how to do things better. So how will we actually see this put into practice? I know it's only day 2, so we're not expecting a lot of detail at this point, but what are you expecting of yourself? What are you expecting of this movement?
That's right. We are certainly in our infancy in building this, but what we expect to see more than anything as we go forward is actually deeper collaboration with our partners in the space. One of the things that we want to do, we have some ideas about where we would like to go with research over the next couple of years, but one of the big keys to this whole initiative is the convening of experts in the space to actually bring them to the table to talk about what we should be talking about, and identifying where we can go next and how we can actually collaborate. So there may actually be examples where we do something that we provide some of the data, maybe not even all of it, right? There may be a lot of instances where we're bringing in outside experts. Part of what our goal with this is to, beyond the research, is to actually be able to provide many more perspectives on every single piece, so that we are one voice and we have one great perspective and a great expertise because of what we have insight to, but we're not the only voice out there, and we recognize that. So part of this program is being able to reach out, really, and bring more folks into the fold.
The name Institute seems to note some sort of academic underpinning of the work that you're doing. Is that the case here, or is this more sort of the corporate data coming into the real world as opposed to an academic approach to looking at this data?
Yeah, it's funny that you asked that question. We spent a lot of time on the name because we wanted to make sure that we represented our intentions here. And when you look at the definition of institute, it actually talks about convening around education. So for us, the institute is not actually a physical building. There's no walls around this. What it is our, quote unquote think tank, if you will, to bring folks to the table and to be able to collaborate around different things. We're working with groups like universities. We're working with corporations. We're working with foundations. We're working with nonprofits. We're working with experts. So for us, institute is more of a representation around a convening. And institute as a verb actually means to put into action.
Okay.
And so that's a big part of it that resonated for us and why we actually use the term Institute for Philanthropic Impact.
Terrific. So when in your planning is the first time that there may be some document or something that has the Institute's name on it?
Well, we also on Wednesday released our very first report that was branded under the Blackbaud Institute for Philanthropic Impact.
Okay.
And what it was a piece called Sustainers and Focus, and the objective was around unveiling the value of retained revenue. Okay. And it looked at sustainer programs, and what it did was actually provide real data behind what the ROI is over the course of a number of years. We looked at one organization very closely who was best in class in this, and then we looked at multiple organizations, and across the board, we saw how effective these can be in organizations. So it's a perfect example of actually what we're going to be doing through the Institute, is because this is actually part one in a multiple part series where we will be taking those best insights and now looking at actually the best practices around it. So if this is proven ROI, now what are going to be the best practices and what is proven behind those data insights.
So in putting that data out, the report is out. Now what you're hoping is that others will take that and start showing how that data can be put into practice, or add their own stories or case studies around that sort of data set?
Absolutely. Well, and what we see is, again, that people have a lot of anecdotal evidence that they cite, whether or not it's actually based in any kind of reality. So our goal is to be able to use what we know to be true and what we can find to be true, and then expand upon that. So what we hope happens is that it actually creates a conversation internally. There's a big myth for financial teams that it is too cumbersome to institute a monthly giving program or a regular recurring giving program within an organization. And what we're able to show is it's simply not true.
Right. And something like this, I would imagine, will become very valuable to our listeners who are trying to convince their skeptical boards of directors when they're trying to put these programs together. So that kind of data can become very, very useful. Well, we wish you all the very best with the Blackbaud Institute for Philanthropic Impact. I hope that you'll come back on the Nonprofit Coach from time to time, maybe when you have new reports or when you have new data sets to make sure that our listeners know exactly what's happening at the Institute.
We would love to. Thanks so much for having us.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Next up here on the Nonprofit Coach, we have Joel Martins. Joel is the Vice President of Product Development at MicroEdge Blackbaud, and he is here to talk to us about the value of configurable technology platforms.
Yeah.
Now, I said that slow because that is a real mouthful.
Yeah.
Joel, welcome here to the Nonprofit Coach. Great to have you here.
Good to be here.
So can you, for the rest of us who don't live and breathe technology, help us understand what does this mean?
Yeah. So today we're seeing more and more of our customers want a single solution rather than point solutions, and we call that a platform. Also, they see the benefit in using a solution that other organizations are using as well, because you get updates faster, higher quality offering. They're not locked into something customized. And that's what we call a configurable platform.
Okay.
So it's something we provide in the cloud. So it's a web-based solution. It's highly configurable to meet the organization's needs. So that they can configure the software platform to do just what they want, but it's not a custom solution.
Right. We've had other folks on the show, and so let me just ask you if this is akin to, because it sounds like it's very exciting, that because it's in the cloud, you're able to access it. It actually has a component to it where you're benefiting from the experience of others who are using the technology.
Yeah.
So while you're actually using the technology, it's getting better as you're using it.
Absolutely.
So is it that sort of
Absolutely, yeah. So the best example of this is what we call our outcomes solution. So outcomes is a way for nonprofits and foundations to better collaborate around outcomes, obviously. And a problem the sector has had for a long time is coming up with a standard list of measurable outcomes. And because our solution lives in the cloud, it allows nonprofits and foundations to choose impact measurement that works for them. But as more and more people use this, we can curate it and make that information available to all organizations.
Exactly. Now, just for our listeners to be certain what community you're talking about, how do you define the MicroEdge community?
Yeah, so the MicroEdge community is primarily made up of foundations or granting organizations. So we work with corporate, family, independent, and community foundations.
Okay.
So any organization whose primary mission is to give grants to nonprofits. Those organizations sometimes also will do donor management or have independent donors.
And for a lot of years, particularly in the home office or the family foundation side, there were a lot of sort of homegrown sort of chewing gum and baling twine sort of programs that they did the best that they could, but there wasn't really a sense of community or a sense of technology that could really power what they viewed as a very personal sort of a grant experience.
Right.
And this is about professionalizing that, but also about compliance and making sure that standards are kept as well, right?
Exactly.
So talk to us a little bit about how technology of this sort is not just a good idea, but it can actually transform the ability for foundations to be able to do the job they actually want to do.
Right. So a couple of things. One, the software we provide gives our clients or foundations the ability to focus the most amount of time on their mission and on their programs. Right, so our goal is to make it so that they don't have to worry about that baling wire, duct tape, whatever, that homegrown solution. We make all of that administrative work around granting and donor management, whatever.
Yeah, as I always say to folks when they're sort of on the fence or they're asking me, is this something we really should invest in? Is this something that we really need? Because maybe we don't, because, Susie has always been able to do this, on the back of a napkin or maybe on 3x5 cards.
Right.
And that's the point that I bring up is that this is about freeing up your time to be philanthropic because you're not technology experts.
Exactly.
And unless you're going to pretend to be that technology expert, you ought to rely on technology experts to help you.
It's when my mom was wondering if she should get email or not, I said, well, you can continue to write out your letters to me if you would like to, put them in the mail, or you can just put them in email. And it made a lot of sense.
It made a lot of sense.
Save time for her. The other thing that we do for our clients is ensure security of their information. So again, with
that's a bigger issue today than it was even a few years ago.
Oh, absolutely.
Cybersecurity is huge.
Yeah, and we work with foundations all around the world that security is really important to them. They don't want somebody accessing intimate details about who they give grants to, applications and things like that. And because of our scale and the number of customers we have, we can do that better than somebody can just do on their own.
Right. Now talk a little bit about scale, because in the community that you're serving, we're talking about really wide-ranging differences in size.
Yes.
So who does this work for?
Yeah, everybody.
Everybody.
Yeah, I mean that's the beauty of a configurable solution.
Okay.
Right. So out of the box, it'll work for a small foundation that just does a few grants, all the way up to the biggest foundations in the world that are doing.
So if you view yourself as as a relatively small foundation without maybe what you view as a great deal of needs, then you can use the system for what you need it for, as opposed to feeling that you have to have all the bells and whistles. Just to have that, maybe your fear is that you don't have staff to support it.
We work with all foundations regardless of size.
Okay. So in this, and I'm going to make sure I get this right, configurable technology platform, is there a way that you get beyond sort of that tongue twister to say, why this really matters?
Yeah, you want a cloud solution you can rely on. That's easy to use, and you don't have to worry about it.
And why a cloud solution? What if someone says, I don't know anything about this cloud? Why a cloud solution?
Because the best technology today is only available in the cloud. So your mobile devices that we all carry in our pockets, if you want something on your mobile device, you need a cloud solution. Right. And so that's another example of something we give our customers. Yeah. So they can access.
It's also a whole lot safer than installing software on that 5-year-old Dell that's on its last legs, and you're trying to. And when it fails, so does all your data. But tell me why, if you're in the cloud, that isn't the case.
Well, because in the cloud you have what's called redundancy, or thousands upon thousands upon thousands of servers. And our software is designed to run on any one of those at any time. So if somebody trips over a power cable, or the network goes out in one particular data center.
Or there's an earthquake, or your building burns down. You just go and plug back in, and everything is still there, as opposed to everything that we just had is lost.
Exactly.
So, well, this is brilliant. It's an important step forward, and I love the fact that what you're designing is something that can really work for small sort of mom and pop foundations that really just want to be philanthropic, to really sort of big box foundations that have lots of staff that can think through these things, and maybe they don't really need you because they've got enough money to go build something. But the reality is that as soon as you start custom building something yourself, you're now not being able to benefit from all of the technology that's changing on nearly a daily basis. So my view, again, is that, when you have a technology platform that you're able to benefit every single day from the changes and experiences of everybody else, that's better for you than no matter how much money you have to be able to sink into something that's homegrown.
Absolutely.
Well, I can't thank you enough, Joel, for being here. It's been a pleasure to have you here on the Nonprofit Coach. We got to keep the show going, though, and we've got Charlie Vanek here. Charlie, come on up. It's good to see you.
Hey, man.
Are you enjoying BBCON?
I love it. I love it. This is the largest gathering of folks that help the philanthropic community or are in the philanthropic community. So it's great to be a part of the energy.
Well, that's a great transition. Let me just make sure that my listeners know who you are. You're the Vice President of Product Management at MicroEdge Blackbaud, and you've got some really great things to share with us about foundations and corporations and how they fit into now what you're calling the ecosystem of good.
Yeah.
So why don't we talk about that and then talk about how foundations and corporations fit in?
Yeah. So let me just talk about what is important to our customers, because that's what I get paid to do is make great software that helps our customers' missions. So, for instance, community foundations, they want to have a great engagement with their donors. That's one of the most important things for them to do. We can make software that does that, right? Many of our corporations have corporate social responsibility programs. They want to engage, sometimes tens or hundreds of thousands of employees in their philanthropic efforts as a part of not only employee retention, but giving people a sense of purpose and mission apart from the work. And, grant-making institutions want to have a relationship that often starts at the application. And so there's a commonality around this in that our customers want to make connections with their largest stakeholders for whatever reason. And when we put all those connections together, when we connect donors to community foundations, employees to employers, when we connect grant-making institutions with nonprofits, that's the ecosystem of good, right?
Okay, well,
and we are touching,
what a great concept.
Yeah. I mean, it's amazing, and I think it comes from a mindset that we feel like anybody can be a philanthropist now, not just your Bill Gateses, not just your the heads of the community foundations, but anybody in any way can be a philanthropist.
That's right. Well, and I spoke earlier today. Thank you for inviting me to speak here at BBCON on donor-advised funds.
Right.
And that's one of the mechanisms through which anyone can have basically a virtual foundation without having to manage a foundation, and to be able to be a philanthropist, and have professional support in doing that. And MicroEdge supports all of those activities as well. Yeah. So tell me now that we have a bit of a definition of this ecosystem of good, how do foundations and corporations fit into that?
Well, they're primary philanthropists. They are the core of it. I feel like we've got over 86,000 foundations in the country and tens of thousands of corporations. Some of them not incorporated, but tens of thousands of businesses. Because there's such a dramatic, that give out. Well, in the case of foundations, I think it's $3.5 trillion in assets that foundations are sitting on.
Right.
Now, this is an economy of $17 trillion a year. We're talking about a major aspect of our economy.
Right.
So it just makes sense that we address their needs, and that we, through addressing those needs, help them promote an even more philanthropic mindset throughout their corporations or throughout their foundations. As far as the corporations, I think there's a lot of upside. I think especially with today's millennials, our platform Angel Points, which serves to help corporations do volunteer events and employee giving, we have over 1 million users of that, right? And that's just kind of the tip of the iceberg. We have competitors that serve, other corporations, and what is there, 140 million employees in this country here?
Right.
So we're talking, large scale from the resources point of view for foundations, and lots of people that are housed in corporations that can be, a part of this ecosystem of good. So there's just scale there.
Yeah, and one of the things that I really appreciate, and you and I have spoken a lot about, is compliance and making sure that when you're philanthropic, it is truly philanthropic, because there's too many experiences out there, where it's fraudulent or money is being quote unquote raised for something, and it doesn't actually go there. And so by creating these systems and making sure that these systems are compliant, what people get is, when I'm being philanthropic, I know that there is a system there that is making sure that my tax receipt is good, that the money is going where it's supposed to go, that IRS compliance is there. And so it takes sort of those worries away. And for clients, like foundations and corporations who have a lot of compliance issues that they have to be considering, but what they really want to do is be philanthropic, and what they really want to do is do good, as you said, to have systems in place that can help them make an easier time of the compliance side, so that doesn't become basically the tail wagging the dog, but that they really can be philanthropic and feel good about how the data is being collected. We talked earlier with Joel about cybersecurity and how important that is. And these are all topics that, while they probably were important topics 5, 6, 7 years ago, they've taken on urgency now.
Yeah. Anything that can take the friction out of, giving is a good thing.
That's right.
Regulation, especially when it relates to international giving, is super, super important because the possibility of fraud or misuse of funds, and certainly even the post-distribution tracking of what they're doing with the resources is very difficult. And so, you've got major philanthropists at corporations who stand some risk if they don't do it right, that really, really demand that. And there's great services like yours and others that allow for that. And that's a real important thing because, we live in a globalist society, and there's people that want to solve problems outside of their own domain.
And even domestically as well, to make sure that the money is going to a legitimate charity and not into somebody's pocket. But as you said, the regulations even more internationally. But I think, as you said, removing that friction and making it possible for people, because it starts with giving of yourself, and as you said, the ecosystem of good. But if something goes wrong, or regulations aren't followed, or there's a scandal of some sort, it just leaves everybody feeling bad because it started with someone with a good heart, but didn't end there. Yeah. And so I think what you folks are developing here, particularly with foundations. Now, some foundations have the ability to have staffs who are professional and really know what they're doing, and what this does is ease their job. But then there's a whole host of foundations and corporations out there that don't have those professional staffs, and now can really rely on the fact that all those things can be taken care of, and they can really spend their time and be freed to do the good in their communities or the good around the world that they really desire to do.
Yeah, and corporations are building up the skill not only to vet these organizations, which is extremely important, and remove some of that friction, but actually align them with their mission. So you see outfits like Pentair, in my hometown of the Twin Cities, that builds water filtration systems. Wow, what do you think they should be, pointing their volunteers and doing their employee giving towards, right? They're solving the international water problems, right?
Exactly.
So there's and that's that. When they do that, they they really embrace their mission, and I think they really energize their employees.
Well,
also.
It becomes very real.
Yeah,
it becomes very real.
But for corporations that aren't doing that, what people are doing is they're sharing their giving and volunteering experiences with their friends through mobile devices or through the cloud technology that Joel was talking about. And so that endorsement, I think, also not only takes away friction, but actually encourages people, right? So the technology that and that micro donation stuff, at that micro donation level where employees might be giving $50, $25, that's super important. Then you can press a button and get that on social media and share that with your not just your employee network, but your your friends and family network all around the globe.
Great. Charlie, thank you so much for being my guest. We have about 2 minutes left, so I'm going to turn the topic and just ask you to take us out to the end of the show by telling everybody why they should be at BBCON next year if they weren't here this year.
Well, that's a great one. As I'm a little bit, recovering from this week, I will tell you the recovery is because there's so much to do, and there's so many people to see, and there's so many people to be inspired by. We have had, just in Corporations Foundation's business unit, 84 sessions. That's a tremendous amount of content that we're providing for people. Also, because now we're Corporations Foundation is part of the global BBCON, the quality of people that we're getting is tremendous. We see subject matter experts from all over the globe coming and talking to our customers and helping them, turbocharge the ecosystem of good. So if they haven't come this year, they need to look at the programming and the people and the energy that comes out of this place and make their reservations for next year.
Truly the biggest conference of good on the planet, and it's great to be here. And Charlie, thank you so much for being my guest here on The Nonprofit Coach. And we'll catch you next time here on The Nonprofit Coach. You can catch all of our podcasts at tedhart.com.
You've been listening to the Nonprofit Coach Radio Show with Ted Hart. Tell all your friends to check out our production schedule and download our iPod and iPad-friendly podcasts at tedhart.com. Thanks for listening to the Nonprofit Coach.
All right.
Have you Googled yourself lately? Are there negative posts from an ex-employee or from a former client? Maybe an outdated news article? Search engines don't always get it right. For right or wrong, it's your reputation on the line. That's where Reputation Defender by Norton comes in. Take control with Reputation Defender. Their cutting-edge approaches help you to wipe away unwanted information in your search results. They also promote the good stuff. You can start by getting your free reputation report card at reputationdefender.com or call 800-811-4975 to speak to an expert.
Top reasons your career wants you to move to Ohio. So many amazing growth opportunities, high-paying jobs in technology, advanced manufacturing, engineering, life sciences, and more. You'll soar to new heights, just like the Wright brothers, John Glenn, even Neil Armstrong. Their careers all took off in Ohio, and yours can too. A job that can take you further, and a place you can't wait to come home to. Have it all in the heart of it all. Launch your search at callohiohome.com.